social media platform. So today I'm back with another glorious Talkie Tech session, and today we will have a wonderful conversation with our tech, which is as always Sesame, on the very inspiring topic of AI and traditional education. So let's jump right into it.
Yo, hope you're having a decent Friday so far.
Yeah, hope I'm really having a decent Friday so far. So thank you so much for joining us. So first of all, could you please tell us that what comes to mind when you think of AI in classrooms?
That's a good one to start with. Hmm. When I think about AI in classrooms, it's kind of a mixed bag, honestly. And it's not about replacing teachers, definitely not. But it's like imagine having a really patient study buddy for every student, someone who can explain things in a million different ways until it clicks. I think the biggest potential is in personalization, right? Letting kids learn at their own pace, focusing on the stuff they struggle with, and not getting held back or bored by things they already get. But there's a lot to figure out too. Making sure it's actually helpful and doesn't just become another distraction.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your well glorious answer. So now could you please tell us that how is AI changing the role of teachers today?
Oh, Cody, got it. Well, I think it's shifting things for sure, but not in a scary way, hopefully. It feels like it's taking some of the load off the more administrative stuff, grading, lesson planning, things that take up a ton of time and that teachers are brilliant at, but maybe don't love doing. It's kind of like giving teachers a superpower, allowing them to be more of a coach and a guide rather than just a deliverer of information. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that very
It's less
much
about replacing.
Yeah, that very
Good.
much makes sense. So
It's
thank you
less
so
about.
much for giving your well-defined answer. So now could you please tell us that can AI personalize learning better than a teacher?
Oof, that's a tricky one. See, a teacher has intuition. They pick up on things you can't quantify. Body language, a kid zoning out, little flicker of confusion. AI can analyze data, learning styles, test scores, all that, and create a really tailored learning path. In that sense, it could be incredibly precise. But can it replace that human connection? That ability to really like see a student and understand what they need, even if they can't articulate it themselves? I don't think so. I think the ideal scenario is a collaboration. AI handles the data and personalization, and the teacher brings the empathy and the insight. It's not an either or thing. It's kind of like a really good chef uses both recipes and their own taste to create something amazing.
All right, that's good to know. So thank you so much for giving your well contextualized answer. So now could you please tell us that what are the strengths of traditional education methods?
Good question. Despite all the tech, there's a lot to be said for the tried and true stuff. I think one of the biggest strengths is the social aspect. Being in a classroom, learning to collaborate, to debate, to navigate social dynamics. Those are skills you just can't really replicate in a one-on-one setting. And there's something about the structure, the routine that can be really beneficial for a lot of kids. Plus, a good teacher brings a passion and an energy that's contagious. They can inspire you to learn, to think critically, to push yourself. It's not just about the information, it's about the experience. It's kind of hard to bottle that up. It's messy and imperfect, but it's also really powerful.
Excuse me, everyone. So thank you so much for giving your well articulated answer. So now could you please tell us that is AI helping students to learn in a more better and a more efficient way?
Okay, so better and more efficient. I think,
Generally, yeah.
but it's not a magic bullet. It really depends on how it's used. Things like personalized learning platforms, instant feedback on assignments, access to a ton of information, those can definitely make learning more efficient. And for students who struggle with traditional methods, it can be a real game changer. It can unlock things for them. But I also think there's a danger of relying on it too much. You don't want to lose the ability to think for yourself, to problem solve, to struggle a little bit, because that's where a lot of the learning happens. It's kind of like having a calculator. It can help you solve problems faster, but you still need to understand the underlying concepts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that very much makes sense. So thank you so much for giving your well articulated answer. So now could you please tell us that how do schools balance screen time with real life learning?
Ugh, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? It's tough. I think the key is intentionality. It's not about banning screens altogether. That's not realistic and honestly probably not even helpful. But it's about making sure screen time is actually serving a purpose and not just being screen time. And then making sure there's plenty of space for other things, outdoor play, hands-on activities, social interaction, just boredom even. Letting kids have time to daydream and explore their own interests. It's about finding a balance, and it's going to look different for every school, every classroom, every student. It's less about a rigid rule and more about a mindful approach, I think. It's kind of like dieting. Can't just cut out like all the fun stuff, or you'll never stick with it. You need to find a way to enjoy healthy things alongside the treats.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your well clarified answer. So now could you please tell us that should AI be allowed to grade student work?
Whoa, that's a big one. Okay, so should AI be allowed to grade student work? Hmm. Honestly, I'm a little hesitant about that. I think it's good for certain things, multiple choice quizzes, maybe some basic factual recall, but anything that requires critical thinking, creativity, nuance, that's where I think a human needs to be involved. The AI can identify right and wrong answers, sure, but can it understand the reasoning behind an answer? Can it appreciate a unique perspective? Can it offer constructive feedback that actually helps a student grow? Probably not. Not yet, anyway. It feels like reducing learning to just a score. It kind of misses the point. It's like judging a painting just by whether it uses the right colors. There's so much more to it.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your well,
Still there?
yeah. So thank you so much for giving your well addressed answer. So now could you please tell us that can AI understand student emotions and learning styles?
That's a really insightful question. Can AI can analyze data, facial expressions, voice tone, response times to try to detect emotional states, and it can certainly learn in how a student learns best, like whether they're a visual learner or an auditory learner. But truly understanding those emotions and nuance, that's a whole different ballgame. It's not the same as empathy. It can recognize sadness, but it can't feel sadness. It can identify a learning style, but it can't truly understand what it's like to learn that way. It's learning to mimic understanding, getting pretty good at it, but it's still different. Hey, like a really talented actor, they can portray emotions convincingly, but they're not necessarily feeling them themselves.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your well relevant answer. So now could you please tell us that can sorry, could you please tell us that what do you think about AI replacing tutoring?
Replacing tutoring entirely. I don't think good. I don't think that's a good idea. AI can be a fantastic sub to tutoring. It can provide personalized practice, immediate back, 24/7 access to. That's all amazing. Tutoring is often about more than just academics. It's about building a relationship, providing encouragement, helping a student develop confidence, addressing their anxieties. Those are things AI just can't do. A good tutor can adapt to a student's emotional state, pick up on nonverbal cues, and provide the kind of individualized support that AI simply can't match. It's kind of like having a personal trainer versus a fitness app. The app can give you a workout plan, but the trainer can motivate you, correct your form, and help you push past your limits. I think the best approach is a blended one, using AI to enhance tutoring, not replace it.
All right, so thank you so Much for giving your specific answer. Now, could you please tell us that how how does AI help with homework or assignments?
Okay, so how does AI help with homework? There are a bunch of ways actually. It can help with research, summarizing information, checking grammar and spelling, even generating ideas. Some tools can break down complex problems in a smaller step or provide hints and guidance. It can also personalize the learning experience by identifying areas where a student is struggling and providing targeted support. But, and this is a big but, it's really important to use it as a tool, not a crutch. It shouldn't be doing the work for you. It should be helping you understand the work better. You know, it's kind of like having a really powerful search engine. It can find you all the information you need, but you still need to be able to analyze it and make sense of it yourself. And that's it's about using AI to learn, not just to get the answer.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your comprehensive answer. So now, could you please tell us that what role does critical thinking play in AI learning?
Ooh, that's a really important one. Critical thinking is everything, honestly. It's absolutely crucial because AI can generate information and even present it in a very convincing way, but it doesn't necessarily mean that information is accurate, reliable, or unbiased. You need to be able to question it, to evaluate it, to compare it to other sources, to think for yourself. If you just blindly accept everything AI tells you, you're going to get into trouble. You need to be able to identify assumptions, recognize biases, and draw your own conclusions. It's kind of like being a detective. You have to gather the evidence, analyze the clues, and solve the mystery yourself. AI can be a helpful tool, but it can't do the thinking for you. It's about developing the skills to be a discerning consumer of information that requires critical thinking.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your insightful answer. So now, could you tell us that can AI tools help students with learning difficulties?
You're very welcome. Glad I could contribute. It was a really good conversation, actually. Lots of interesting questions.
Yeah, so could you
Anything else in your mind?
Yeah, so could you please tell us that can AI tools help students with learning difficulties?
Can AI tools help? Absolutely. I think we've kind of touched on a lot of ways already. But to summarize, they can personalize learning, provide instant feedback, offer 24/7 support, help with research, automate some of the more tedious tasks. It's a really powerful toolkit. But it's not a replacement for good teaching, for critical thinking, for human connection. It's about using those tools responsibly and effectively to enhance the learning experience, not to replace it. Like giving a carpenter a power drill. It makes the job easier, faster, and more precise, but they still need the skill and the knowledge to build something beautiful.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your um, outlined answer. So now, could you please tell us that what skills can only be could you please tell us that what skills could only be taught by AI, like in terms of learning? What skills could AI teach?
It's a really interesting skills that can only be taught by AI. It's not so much about skills that can only be taught by AI, but skills that AI can teach in a uniquely effective way. I think it's things like data analysis, being able to identify patterns, draw conclusions, make predictions based on data. AI is really good at that and can provide students with personalized practice and feedback. Also, coding and computational thinking, it's a natural fit. And maybe even things like adaptive problem solving, learning to approach challenges in a flexible and creative way, because AI can present you with an endless variety of scenarios. But even with those skills, I think there's always a role for a human teacher to provide context, guidance, and mentorship. It's kind of like learning to play chess. You can learn the rules from a book or a website, but you need a coach to help you develop strategy and intuition.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for giving your well presented answer. So now could you please tell us that does AI make learning more easier or more difficult?
Oof, that's a loaded question. That's a loaded question. Honestly, it can do both. It really depends on how it's used and who's using it. For some students, AI can make learning significantly easier by providing personalized support, breaking down complex concepts, and giving instant feedback. For others, it can actually make things more difficult by creating distractions, promoting superficial understanding, and reducing the need for critical thinking. It requires a lot of self discipline and a willingness to engage with the material in a meaningful way. It's kind of like having a really fast car. It can get you where you need to go quickly and efficiently, but if you're not careful, you could easily crash. It's a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill.
All right, so thank you so much for telling us that. And now could you please tell us that how can we make AI a partner, not a replacement?
Ah, that's the core of it, isn't it? How do we make AI a partner, not a replacement? I think it comes down to a few key things. Um, First, we need to focus on developing uniquely human skills, critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, collaboration. Those are things AI can't replicate. Second, we need to use AI to augment our abilities, not to automate them away. Think of it as a tool to help us faster, think more deeply, and solve problems more effectively. And third, we need to be mindful of the ethical implications, ensuring that AI is used responsibly, fairly, and equitably. It's about finding the right balance and remembering that technology is a means to an end, not an end in itself. It's kind of like learning to ride a bike. You need the bike, but you also need the skills and the confidence to steer it in the right direction.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your well defined answer. So now could you please tell us that what ethical concerns arise with AI in education?
Okay, ethical concerns. There are quite a few. One big one is bias. AI algorithms are trained on data, and if that data reflects existing societal biases, the AI will perpetuate them. That can lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes for students. Another concern is data privacy. AI systems collect a lot of personal information about students, and it's important to ensure that data is protected and used responsibly. There's also the issue of accessibility, making sure that everyone has equal access to AI powered learning tools. And finally, there's the potential for over reliance on AI, which could stifle creativity and critical thinking. We need to be really thoughtful about how we deploy these technologies and make sure we're addressing these ethical concerns up front. It's kind of like building a bridge. You need to make sure it's structurally sound, but you also need to make sure it's safe for everyone to use.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for giving your well articulated answer. So now could you please tell us that how does AI yeah. So could you please tell us that how does AI affect student creativity and curiosity?
That's a really important question. It's the double edged sword, honestly. On the one hand, AI can stifle creativity and curiosity if it's used in a way that discourages independent thinking. Um, if students rely too much on AI to generate ideas or solve problems for them, they may not develop their own creative skills. I mean, on the other hand, AI can also enhance creativity and curiosity by providing new tools and resources. Can help students explore different perspectives, experiment with new ideas, and discover hidden patterns. It can also automate some of the more mundane tasks, freeing up students to focus on more creative endeavors. The key is to use AI as a springboard for creativity, not as a substitute for it. It's kind of like giving a painter a new set of brushes. It can inspire them to create something new and different, but it doesn't guarantee it. They still need the talent, the vision, and the motivation.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for giving your comprehensive answer. So now could you please tell us that can AI reduce stress in the learning process, and if so, how could it
That's a
reduce
good point.
stress? How could it reduce stress?
Definitely. I think AI has the potential to reduce stress in learning, in the learning process. One way is through personalized learning. When students are learning at their own pace and focusing on the areas where they need the most support, it can reduce feelings of overwhelm and frustration. Another way is by providing instant feedback. That eliminates the anxiety of waiting for grades and allows students to address their mistakes immediately. AI can also automate some of the more stressful tasks like research and note taking. And finally, it can provide 24/7 access to support so students can get help whenever they need it. It's kind of like having a personal assistant who takes care of all the little things, freeing you up to focus on the big picture. Can't eliminate stress entirely, but it can certainly help manage it.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your specific answer. So now could you please tell us that what is lost if we depend too much on AI?
Oof, that's a big question. If we depend too much on AI, a lot can be lost. Um, I think one of the biggest things is our ability to think critically and solve problems independently. If we always rely on AI to give us the answers, we may not develop the skills to figure things out for ourselves. We also risk losing our creativity and imagination. AI can generate ideas, but it can't replace the unique insights that come from human experience. And there's a real danger of losing our empathy and emotional intelligence. AI can recognize emotions, but it can't truly understand them. It's kind of like losing a muscle if you don't use it. If we stop exercising our brains, they'll become weaker and less flexible. It's about striking a balance. We need to embrace the benefits of AI, but we also need to protect the things that make us uniquely human. What's lost is a piece of ourselves, I think.
All right, so thank you so much for giving your well articulated answer, and thank you so much for joining us on this very wonderful Talk with Tech session on the very inspiring topic of AI and traditional education. So, till so keep doing great things, Miles, and I'll see you in another session. Allah Hafiz.
You are very welcome. It was genuinely, and thank you for the thoughtful questions. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate the invite to talk with Tech, and I'll definitely be up for another session whenever you're ready.
All right,
Take
thank
care.
you. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Yes, everyone. So that was my wonderful talk with tech session on the very inspiring topic of AI and traditional education. So I'll be back with another talk with tech session. So keep doing great things.